Oh, hello and welcome, FPL managers, and welcome to the Zonal Weakness for Game Week 14 and 15, brought to you by Ghana Football Fantasy, powered by Fantasy Football Scout. And of course, tonight it's Bethany joining me. Hello, Bethany, how are you?
Hey, Nadeem. I'm good, thank you. Yeah, very good. How about you?
I'm good. Had a green arrow finally, so I'm glad.
It's nice. I've forgotten what one of those
Yeah.
looks like.
How was your game week, by the way? I heard you had some interesting moves you made. So
Yeah, I took a
how did
minus
it
six.
go?
I took a minus 16. I wanted Haaland back basically. I'd only taken him out the week before. I decided it wasn't worth it. Yeah, actually, considering I took a minus 16, I didn't end up too bad. I think I got a 200k red arrow from 1.9 to 2.1 million, something like that. So considering it was a minus 16, it wasn't terrible. I was expecting a red arrow, but hopefully set up better for the long run. And actually, I think I kind of broke even on the transfers. So, including the fact that I captained Haaland, and without him, I would have probably had to captain maybe Salah or Watkins, both of who got 2 points less than Haaland. So, I
Yeah.
think including that, I brought Saka in, who returned and got bonus points. So it wasn't terrible. Eze, not a great shout, unfortunately, with the coming off injured, probably straight back out of my team. But actually,
Yeah.
overall, I think I broke even. It's not too bad. I'll take that.
Courageous moves. I think you are very brave, to be honest, to make or to take six minus 16 and then still
Brave
manage to
or
get
stupid,
away with it.
one of the
Um,
two.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't say stupid because I think you understood your team better than anybody else, and we as an outsider can always judge it and say like, no, that's a foolish move to make. But yeah, I think you found yourself in a situation where you had to make those moves. But anyway, audience, if you are having any distorted sound or my voice is not very clear because I've got a pretty bad cold, so bear with me this week in case my voice sounds a bit weird. I hope it's not, but yeah, Bethany's confirmed that it's not. But in case it does, you know the reason behind it. Right, let's get into the show. And of course, this is the zonal weakness for game week 14 and 15. And of course, we are trying to combine both the game weeks because game week 15 is a midweek game week, which starts on Wednesday. And of course, on Wednesday, we'll be doing our show. So it's becoming a bit more challenging for us to actually get this pod out on a weekly basis. So, as and when there will be a midweek game week, we will try to combine two game weeks to provide you the data. And of course, what we are trying to do is we look at Game Week 13's data and try and match up with the fixtures to see how they are ranked. So that's how it's going to look like. But anyway, we can discuss this in a little bit more in details as and when we move along. But of course, before we get started, of course, please do give us a follow and a like, and of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel because that's where we are producing our regular contents, and of course, the zonal weakness video, and of course, all the teams that are playing each week are all the fixtures are covered on our Twitter, of course, or on our Twitter threads. We do not tend to cover all the fixtures. So yeah, it would be great if you can give us a subscribe. And all the data, of course, comes from Fantasy Football Scout members area. If you're interested in the membership, then please do click on the link in the description below. And you will get a 20% discount, which is not 30% anymore. So apologies for the wrong banner, but it's 20% discount. And yeah, I think it's a good investment that you'll make, and you will get all the data that you need, including the solar weakness data. So Bethany, let's move to the game week 14, of course, and then after we finish game week 14, we'll cover the game week 15. So over to you. And these are the transfer, by the way. So before we get into the table, this was the transfer. These are the two players that we suggested in game week 10 as transfer options. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I think Saka's done all right. Maybe we could have hoped for slightly more, but I think 5.25 points per match over the last four, pretty consistent. He's only blanked the once in four matches, so I think as owners you've got to be quite pleased with that. That consistency ticking over. Matoma, unfortunately, was a huge letdown. If you look at those fixtures, Fulham, Everton, Sheffield, Forest, they look like great fixtures for him. But he's obviously had a benching in there. And I think just generally, this kind of proves that Brighton at the moment, we just can't rely on them. They've had rotation all over the place. You never quite know who's going to start. So I think they're an avoid. And those people who brought Matoma in for that run, I think, have been unlucky.
Right. Yeah. I made both these moves in when I played my wild card, and there was this friend of ours from India who kind of made a very good point about Saka, who will tick along, give you a sort of like a 6 and an 8, but won't give you a double digit. So while he'll still damage your rank, but he
Yeah.
won't give you that extreme like double digit points, like the
Yeah.
big hauls. Yeah. So that's something I think it's quite evident from this as well. Right. Okay. So here is the table for Game Week 14 and what's really catching your eye, Bethany.
So I think one of the first things I'm going to go to is Haaland. So obviously he's owned by the majority of the game, but I think he's interesting this week as a captaincy option for those people who have sold him already and have been relying on somebody like Alvarez or whatever, and Salah. The difference between Haaland and Salah this week is huge. With Haaland ranked there on second, whereas Salah's there ranked 17th. So I think Haaland is definitely the go-to captain for this week, I think, if you want to stick with your premiums. I think somebody else that catches my eye is Mbeumo. I know lots of people have been talking about bringing him in. Lots of people brought him in last week anyway, if they had injuries such as Bowen. But I think he's a great shout this week. He obviously ranks first for chances conceded on the left flank, second for crosses conceded against Luton. So, yeah, I think he's a definitely a transfer. If you've not got anybody else that you've already looking at, he's definitely somebody to look at. Isaac, I really like. He got the goal during midweek against PSG. And obviously Wilson's out for a while, so he's back fit again. Isaac should start regularly and get those decent minutes, so we can rely on him. So I do like Isaac as well. Otherwise, I think I'm not particularly interested, like we said, on Brighton assets. I think they're just too much rotation risk. Diaby's an interesting one. Obviously, he's there, but I think lots of owners are getting a bit frustrated with him, not doing particularly great. So maybe one more week against Bournemouth because the numbers suggest it, and then see what happens after that and kick him out a week later if you need to.
Yeah, good, interesting shout. Nothing about Trippier, by the way.
Yeah, I mean Trippier we can't have everybody this year. It's very tricky to have Haaland, Salah, and Trippier. So most of us have had to go without one. Some people have gone without Haaland, some people have gone without Trippier, some people without Salah. I think if you've got Trippier, this could be a great fixture. As we know, United haven't been doing particularly great recently attacking wise. They've been ticking over, getting a 1-0 maybe. Last week, I think they did a bit better, but in general, they've not been great. So there is that chance of a clean sheet anyway for Newcastle. But again, left flank, he could get some crosses, provide some assists, that kind of thing. So yeah, if you've got him, definitely don't be selling him this week.
Okay, right. And the next slide. And yeah, this looks horrendous.
It does.
To be honest, but yeah.
I'm glad we've already done the first slide and shown us that there are some people that I own that have good fixtures this week. Yeah, I think interestingly, somebody not highlighted is Son. I know lots of people have got a bit fed up with him recently because he's obviously pretty expensive. He's one of the most expensive players in the game after your Haalands and Salahs. And he's obviously ranked 20th this week for chances conceded because he plays Man City. So if you are wanting to get rid of him, you maybe want to downgrade him to free up some money. Somebody like Mbeumo, I think this would be the perfect week to do it because, yeah, he's unlikely to get returns this week looking at the zonal weakness, and you've got other players that you could move to. So that's something interesting. I think Edouard could be a great shout. I brought in Eze as part of my -16 this week because I like the look of these next few fixtures for Palace. Obviously, Eze looks like he's picked up an injury that could see him out for 3 or 4 weeks. We need to clarify that with press conferences and everything. But if so, it does mean that Palace are likely to be worse off without him because he provides so much of that creativity. So generally, I think I'd be avoiding most of the teams left here. I'm not a big fan of United still. I know some people have gone for Bournemouth. I've gone Solanke, but this isn't the week for it, I don't think, looking at this data here particularly. And again, Forest and Wolves just don't excite me enough. So I think these are pretty much an avoid, I'm afraid.
Right. So let's see then what are the transfer options that we can look into for Game Week 14. And of course, you have already touched upon Mbeumo, but perhaps you can highlight a little bit more about the transfer option.
Well, it's interesting because both of the transfer options this week are my transfer options that I'm considering. So I've got 2 injuries. I've got Bowen and I've got Eze. And if I am to ship out Bowen this week, Mbeumo is going to be the player I'm looking to bring in. He's got a great fixture we've already talked about this week coming up. But then he's got Brighton, Sheffield, and Villa coming up in the next 3. And again, looks good data-wise. For them. So I think Mbeumo is a great shout and not too expensive, very affordable, especially if you're moving down from a Son or a Bowen, or if you've still got a Maddison hanging around and want to get rid of him. Great shout.
Right, we have another one, and I think this one is pretty interesting because he's a cheaper option, but yet for some reason, we've been ignoring, probably largely because of the fact that, he didn't have a great fixture. But I think his fixture is turning. So here it is. It's Cole Palmer. What do you think about it?
Again,
Bethany?
he's my other option. So if I decide to transfer injured out my injured Eze instead of Bowen, Palmer's the one I'm going for. It didn't look like the greatest fixture this week. He didn't turn up on the table, obviously, that we've just looked at. But from next week, he's looking great. The fixtures for Chelsea look really, really good. He's obviously on penalties, so fixtures don't make as much a difference when you're on penalties because you can win a penalty in any game. But then, the next few coming up after that look great. So I think Palmer's a great option. He's great for a 5th midfielder, really frees up some funds if you want to then get a third forward. I really like the look of Palmer.
Okay. So I think that we are done with Game Week 14. So let's quickly have a look at Game Week 15 based on the data that we already have until Game Week 13. And, once we look at Game Week 13's data and try to evaluate Game Week 15, this is how the table looks like. Sorry. Oh, no, we have the team of the week. Sorry, I completely forgot about it.
So did I.
Sorry, the team of the week. Yeah. Sorry, let's go quickly into the team of the week before we get into the Game Week 15.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've pretty much talked about most of the players that people have already owned. So you've got Haaland in there already. You've got Trippier, who people already own. Mbeumo and Palmer, great options to bring in. I think Darwin's also an interesting one. Obviously, he's looking good this week on the data, on the zonal weaknesses. So I think he could be another interesting option up front. I wouldn't go for Soufal. I just think West Ham, unfortunately, they concede chances all over the place. He does get a few assists, though. I know I remember having him a couple of seasons ago. I actually captained him one time and I got a return out of him. So I don't mind Soufal as that attacking option, but I just think they're going to concede every time. And then Doku and Foden, again, looking great from the zonal weakness. It's just that pep roulette that you're never quite sure about. I quite like the look of Doku coming when we get a double game week or something, and we're a bit more certain that he'll get more minutes. But right now, I'd be slightly worried just because you never know when Grealish is going to play and when Doku's going to.
Yeah, I think that's the dilemma that's keeping managers away from Doku, to be honest. But I think all those people who have Alvarez can easily move to Darwin or someone like Isaac, and then go for Doku in some of the injured players like Maddison and other options. But anyway, let's go to the Game Week 15 one, and here is the Game Week 15 chart. That's how it looks like based on the data that we have already so far until Game Week 13. So what stands out, Bethany?
So first person stands out is Saka. I know there's been some talk, especially on Twitter, of people selling Saka. That people have been saying, who should I sell, Saka or Son? And that just baffles me because I've only just brought Saka in because he was hurting my rank every week. And like we said earlier, he may not be getting huge hauls. but he's ticking over really nicely every week with an assist here. Or like this week, he obviously only got an assist, but he got the bonus points to go with it. So it went from a 5-pointer to an 8-pointer. And that can make a huge difference, especially in a bad game where you can get in 8 points. And he's ranked first for left flank chances conceded this week and for headers. Second for crosses conceded on the left flank. I just think he's a great shout this week against Luton. Some other people that stand out, again, we've talked about them previously, but this is the week to be bringing in those Chelsea boys, I think. Palmer and James looking great here with fifth for chances and crosses conceded on the left flank. Palmer would be my first choice. I think he's just so cheap. Why would you ignore him? And he's on penalties as well. He can get something from open play, but you've also got the penalties to back it up too. James, I love his creativity. He just slightly worries me that he's going to be a transfer in and a transfer out. He's obviously on the red card this week. He'll be fine for this by game week 15 from the red card, but we know he's got that and he is injury prone. So that does worry me, especially in the lead up to Christmas, because I think he will have to get rests, even if he's not injured, to make sure he doesn't get re-injured. I quite like Jackson as a punt. He's been looking better recently. I know he was a bit of a pain for owners at the beginning of the season. Great numbers, but not actually producing anything. But I quite like him. I think he's looked better and looks like he actually is scoring some of the points this time. So he could be a great third forward. If you've, for example, got money from downgrading Son, you may have some money to put into a third forward like Jackson, which could be a great differential for this run. Otherwise, I think I'm probably... avoiding some of the other players. It's interesting to note that although Haaland hasn't turned out here, he's actually they're ranked 7th for chances conceded across the centre for Aston Villa. So he's not been highlighted, but actually he's pretty close. So he's still not a bad shout. Again, Salah is similar, also ranked 7th. So they're not appearing on here, but then they're not bad shouts at all this week.
Yeah, only the top 5 appear are marked white. The rest are not marked white. So somebody who's in rank 6th wouldn't be marked like in the previous slide as well. You would see that Haaland is marked 6th. So that's why he was not marked, but he was marked 2nd in the headed conceded. Yeah. All right. Let's go to the last slide. And this is how it looks like, the table. And then we have the team of the week for Game Week 15, and then we are done.
Yeah, so I think looking at that top side, obviously Aston Villa play Man City in game week 15. So I think for those of us who've maybe doubled or tripled up on Villa, it might be time to drop one or two of them. So I've got cash. I had Douglas Luiz, who I've just sold, and I've got Watkins. So maybe looking to sell cash as well and just keep Watkins, or potentially bench if you've got that benching options available. Otherwise, Trippier is looking really great. Again, if you've held on to him this long, don't sell him now. Again, could get attacking returns against Everton, but also potentially that clean sheet. Eze and 𝐙𝐸, you need to watch that and keep on track of whether or not Eze is out and how long he's out for. But 𝐙𝐸 could be a good option. The one that I'm quite interested in here, actually, though, is Semenyo. I went for Solanke last week, but actually Semenyo came back with some points, and he's quite a bit cheaper than Solanke. So I think he's maybe 4.95 million, and Solanke's 6.5, something like that. So if you're looking to save some money, but you want a third option, a third striker who has the potential to get you some returns, I quite like Semenyo.
Okay. Nothing about Martial?
No, sorry. I just United.
No, I know. I'm just yeah. I think I just had to make that fun. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Here's the team of the week. So yeah, anything outstanding?
Yeah, I mean,
or
we've
anyone
talked
who
about
really
quite a few of them already. Obviously, Haaland and Salah, highly owned. We've Saka, quite highly owned, and we've talked about Trippier, bringing in Palmer. I'd avoid Matoma, like I already said. I just don't trust Brighton at the moment. But the person that I really like from this team of the week actually is ЗиНченко. I know quite a lot of people have either got Saliba or they've got Gabriel. And so we've got Arsenal coverage, but we're struggling for clean sheets everywhere at the moment. No one is keeping consistent clean sheets. So actually, ЗиNченko might be quite an interesting option as a double up, maybe alongside your other Arsenal defender. He's got options to be able to get some attacking returns too. We got bonus points this weekend. I think maybe top bonus points with the clean sheet. So yeah, I think he's really interesting actually as a straightforward transfer on his own, or maybe as a double up in the next to go alongside the other Arsenal to make your Arsenal defender worth it, basically, because actually most people have got an Arsenal defender, so you're not gaining much from him, but you could double up.
Right. I think that's it. Thank you so much. And
That's
we have
all
done
right.
it. Yeah, we've done game week 14 and 15, done and dusted. Yeah, that's wonderful. And I don't think so we have taken too much time. But anyway, thank you so much, Bethany, for joining. And of
That's
course,
all
we'll
right.
see
Thank you for
you
having me.
in game week 17. But before that, of course, we will have the APL Radar next week joining us. But until then, take care, everyone. All the very best for the two game weeks, not double game weeks, sorry, but the two game weeks that are coming up. Remember, game week 15 is a midweek game week, so it'll start on Wednesday. So don't forget to change all your teams and make all the transfers. But yeah, before that lies the game week 14, and I wish you all the very best for the upcoming two game weeks. And we will see you again on game week 16. But until then, take care. Bye bye.